In this video, I'll show you how to diagnose a fuel pump that might be going bad or is faulty with obdeleven. It's a really easy process and pretty quick. So what you'll do is you'll turn the car on, you'll start it, and then you'll put the Bluetooth dongle in. You'll connect it to the app, and then you can go into the control units, go into engine, hit live data. It'll take a second for it to load, and we're going to be going into channel 106 or measure block 106. So you go into that, and then this is the data for the fuel system. Now the number that we're really after is the second one right here that says electric fuel pump 1/2. This is the duty cycle percentage, and it's saying that it's running at 83, a little bit fluctuating at idle. Car's running, and it should be around 40%, and it's all the way up at about 80%, which means the fuel pump is working very hard. Now as I rev it, you'll see those numbers change. And that top number is the fuel rail pressure, which is really high pressure, and that's what's being driven from the camshaft. It's that high pressure fuel pump. And then this is the electric low pressure fuel pump in the tank. And the car is also in limp mode. I'm gonna put my foot all the way to the floor, and it's like 4,000 RPM. It's not going above that. Definitely not quite right. Now that we know that fuel pump is bad, we have a new one right here. Remove the rear seat right here, and that's really pretty easy. You just grab right underneath it right here, and you pull up real hard. Sometimes that's tricky to get it up. Another way that I've really had that works is you sit in it, you grab here, and then you pull up. Now we'll remove this. With a Phillips screwdriver, remove the 3 screws on this little cap. These connectors here are really going to be super tricky, and you need these special pliers that'll get on those tabs and pull it out, and it'll make it a lot easier. We'll pull off this plug. Now this tab is broken here, but it just lifts up, and that lifts over a little tab that's in this hole. Now we'll take these pliers and disconnect these. As you're squeezing this in, push down on the connector, squeeze in, and then pull up. There we go, that's off. Now a little fuel's gonna come out, but that worked really good. Without these pliers, it's really just miserable to get these connectors off. Now, this connector right here, I would say, is definitely the hardest because you have a lot of things around it. Like you've got the sidewall that gets in the way of pretty much every tool. We'll give it a try with this and see if we can get down in there. We might need to remove the ring or just kind of twist this and move it a little bit. The outside ring here is definitely getting in the way, so we need to pull that off. We'll tap this ring off. And just go at it from different directions so it doesn't get stuck or jammed. Alrighty, so it's free, and the tank is completely full, so that's why it's draining out right here. I have a bucket underneath to catch that. Alrighty, that definitely gave us some more room. Get that plier on there. To get a little more room, this little brace right here, I'm gonna cut this little corner off so we can fit the tool. And that gives us a little more room to get deeper down in there. These plastic clips are really damaged. They're all chewed up. So what I'm gonna do is take this chisel, and at the bottom of the connection here on the fuel pump assembly, I'm gonna shear that off. So that way we'll be able to take this off, have a little bit more freedom, and we can just pry that off. Well, we certainly got that off. That's just the high pressure line, so there was still some fuel pressure in there, but it's off. Now we can work off the pump. Be careful with the ends of these connections. They can be a little brittle. There's a connection right here that runs across the tank that's connected, and we need to disconnect that. There's a button on one side and a button on the other. You squeeze it. Now I don't want to lose that end, so I tied a little wire to it so it'll be easier to get to next time. Just don't want to dunk my hand in gas to grab it back. Now it's starting to come out. And we're clear out. There's these pieces of plastic that are at the bottom of the tank, and these are part of the fuel pump assembly, and it goes on the very bottom, and I can show you that on the new pump. Here's that yellow plastic piece that's on the bottom of the assembly, and this is the one that we pulled out of the bottom of the tank. So now from the other side, we'll pull that out. What I needed to do was push this back up in, which gives room for those clamps to move out. So I pushed it up in, held these in place with my fingers, and then I had a second person with a pair of pliers come in, grab it, and pull it out. And here's the inside of a healthy one. You might notice that there's 3 connections up here, but you only have 2. You have a line going out and a line going back in. This third one is just unused. There's nothing that connects to it. And there's this hose that goes down to the bottom like a straw. And this actually should be closed on this particular model. If you get a newer pump, it'll have this open like that. And you can buy a little cap that just clips over it, just like those connectors in there, except it's just a cap, and that'll close it and seal it. It's about $10 online if you get it from ECS. I'm just gonna take a little bit of glue and cover that and seal it so gas won't come out. If you don't seal that, gas will pour out of it. I just press fit a piece of brass into the plastic there, and that makes an airtight seal. Now we'll drop this in just like this in this orientation, and we'll connect this back up to the one that we tied the wire around, and then there's a little, like a ribbed hose that's gonna slide in to a hole right here. Now the top half of this disconnects, and it gives you more room to get those connections in, and then we'll just reconnect it once we have everything connected. This ribbed hose right here plugs into the basket right there. And this one right here plugs right into this one. That's good. Now we'll put these metal bars back in. I'll just keep working it in here slow. I put the tank seal in there, making sure that seats correctly as I'm putting it in. It's not crimping or creasing anywhere. We'll put that ring back in and tap it into place. We'll get our fuel connectors back on. So we'll try it before we close everything back up. Definitely hear it prime, turn on. Starts, I mean it's working at least. Now when we turn everything back on, look at that, down to 50%. And right now the engine's not warmed up. We'll see if it changes a little bit when the idle comes down a bit, but 50% is where it should be. That's a big jump from 80 to 50, so we definitely made an improvement. That's great. Alrighty, and now it's out of limp mode and everything's fixed. And now that the engine's warmed up, it did go down a little bit in percentage to 48, 49. Now after the test drive, there's no leaks, so we can put it all back together. Well, and that's how you change out a low pressure fuel pump on a B7 Audi A4, and this is particularly on the Quattro model.